Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by once again, coming at you for one of my famed movie / Blu-ray reviews. Today I'm going to be coming at you to review the movie and the Blu-ray of Silent Rage. And the whole reason I'm reviewing this is because recently, if you watched my Blind Fury review, you'll know that I recently acquired this, the Mill Creek 3 Payback Time triple feature featuring Blind Fury, Silent Rage, and White Line Fever. And I bought the disc for this, having seen it at the drive-in and having, in its initial run and having grown up with it. And then these other two titles I actually hadn't seen before. I speculated in my review of Blind Fury. It seemed to me like I had the VHS, but I hadn't watched it. That turned it out to be the case. I had the VHS previously viewed of Silent Rage in my collection, but I had never seen it. So the first time I actually saw this movie was and I will say, absolutely fantastic, pristine version of this movie on the, I was going to say Anchor Bay, it's the Mill Creek Blu-ray presentation. So that's the first time I saw it just recently. And, I gotta say that it's definitely not what I'd call one of my favorite Chuck Norris movies. It's a really weird kind of movie, to be honest. It starts with this guy, the first shot of the movie, or this first shot, after the opening credits is kind of cool. It's kind of an Orson Wellesian single take kind of a thing. Basically this guy, waking up, I don't know if he's living in a boarding house or something like that, if he's renting a room or whatever. This guy waking up, he goes downstairs and he's just like, he calls this guy on the phone, he's like, "Doc, I can't take it anymore," or I'm gonna lose it, or whatever. "Doc, you gotta come take me in," or whatever the hell he says. Anyway, there's these kids, around the house making all kinds of racket, playing Star Wars or ray guns or whatever the hell they're doing. She tells the kids to go outside and play, and they go outside and play, and then this guy goes outside. We end up seeing, then we see the woman doing stuff, then we go back to him, we end up seeing through the window, he's outside, coming out of the work shed with an axe or something like that, and I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, there's no music playing here or anything like that, no film music or anything. I'm like, this is great, this is only going to get horrible. And then the woman's like, "Okay, you kids, come inside," and it's funny because she just told them to go outside and come inside, you go to the park and get rid of this excess energy before I, strangle all you or whatever. Don't come back until all this energy's gone. Kids go away, and basically this woman's on the steps. This guy comes into the house holding the axe in a threatening way, and this is all like, I think it's all, one or two shots at this point. It's probably a way to just do this quickly without wasting a lot of time to get it shot. But in the finished movie, I always like scenes that are done in, orchestrated in one take kind of things, just because it takes all the more effort to get things done in one, or get things right in a single take. It's always fun when you see that in a movie, and to be honest, I've never saw it in a Chuck Norris movie, or would ever expect to see something that kind of artistry in a Chuck Norris movie. So that was kind of fun. But he ends up chasing this woman up the stairs. She screams out the window, "Help, help, help, call the cops." I think she ends up getting axed to death or whatever. What's so funny is, I think while he's axing on her at the door or something like that, some other guy comes in and grabs the guy, and he just like turns the guy with the axe, turns around and goes, just jabs it into his head, and goes like, "Ugh," and the guy turns around at camera and like, "Ugh," and falls out of the shot. It's just like really kind of funny. I'm pretty sure this guy ends up, axe murdering this woman, and then ends up going downstairs, and of course Chuck Norris shows up. He's like the sheriff or whatever, and he shows up and he's got this fat sidekick guy that nearly shoots Chuck Norris himself while the guy's running away, and he did a little cat and mouse with this guy chasing him. He ends up back by the cops. I don't know, he ends up getting like gunned down or whatever, and the kind of viewer just thinks he's dead or whatever. But then this Ron Silver guy, the first thing I think I can remember seeing him in, of course, was Time Cop. And I don't think has this guy ever done a movie where he doesn't have the beard? It must just be a Ron Silver thing or whatever. But he's like the doc, I guess, that this guy was calling, and he's like, oh, he arrives too late, and he's just like, oh no. And what ends up happening is they take this body back to this lab, and it kind of reminds you of a Bill Rebane movie, like Alpha Incident or something like that, where it's just like this half-assed, let's just film in this, I don't know, just this, this piping this, the basement of some, office building and make it look all cool, and we'll light it with, just red and orange and blue and yellow lighting and all this kind of stuff. Basically, what we're meant to understand about this movie is, I don't know if this guy was a test tube baby or just a normal guy who, was given drugs to make him superhuman or whatever. This guy's basically an experiment, and they put him out into the world or whatever, and obviously, went amok, and the guy's like, Ron Silver, regrets letting him out. He should have never been out. And like Ron Silver, there's these two other guys, and Ron Silver is just like, oh, they're basically saving him, or they're able to remove the bullets, and he's on life support. And Ron Silver's like, the other guys are like, if we inject this drug into him, we can probably keep him alive. And Ron Silver's like, let's let him just take him off life support and let him die. And they do that just to kind of appease Ron Silver. He goes away, and the two guys, one of them incidentally is that guy from, it'd be in some Tobe Hooper movies, that goofy dad, he's married to the dad in Eaten Alive with Marilyn Burns, and there's this guy who ends up just like going like this to her towards the camera. And he was also briefly that guy in Funhouse, the Tobe Hooper movie, where he does the Dracula thing and puts the stake in a girl's heart and that thing in the Funhouse and stuff. So that guy, that guy's always kind of fun. He's one of the scientist guy, and he's one of the two guys that, once Ron Silver goes away, they inject this guy who, they let die, inject this guy with drugs, and I don't know if they jumpstart his heart or whatever, they get this guy alive. And I guess I don't know if they're working on the serum or something. They inject something into him where basically, this guy comes back later and shows this guy, look, I can, I think they show Ron Silver when he comes back. He's like, why is this guy alive? You brought this guy back to life. And he's like, look it though. You take a scalpel and cut his skin, it just instantly goes, and they show it on camera, like go, and kind of instantly heals up. Do it again, okay, and then, and it's like, oh boy, the ramifications to this could be amazing or whatever. And at this time, I think they think this guy's brain dead, and he's just like a vegetable that's laying there, and they're like, oh, okay, well, show me it's really working, take him off life support. They turn off life support, his heart keeps beating. He's like, wow. Another thing we find out as a viewer is that basically Ron Silver's sister ends up meeting up with the Chuck Norris character, and it turns out they had a relationship 5 years prior or something like that didn't end well. I don't know if he left her or whatever, but I guess it's their first time seeing each other. She works, I don't know, at the same building that the Ron Silver brother does, and as a secretary or something. I think it's their first time Chuck Norris and her character, met since 5 years prior, since they were dating or whatever, and she's kind of miffed to see him, and they end up hooking up for a night, and she's like, okay, I don't want to start dating you again, but we'll have sex or whatever. And this woman's kind of reminds me in a little way of that chick in Halloween 3, the short woman with some nice, sized boobies and stuff like that. She's kind of one of these short, hot, kind of brunette chicks with the nice sized boobies or whatever. We end up seeing this, I guess it's kind of after sex scene with her and Chuck Norris. She's topless and they're rolling around, and she's like, they're reassuring each other that this means nothing and this is just going to be temporary or whatever, and that's that. So we basically cut back and forth between Chuck Norris antics with her and also his fat partner and his comic relief guy, and what's going on with these scientists, and whether or not they should do or continue to do what they're doing with this this lab rat guy who's like ends up being like for the last half of the movie, or maybe the last 2/3 of the movie, ends up being in this space age frickin' silvery kind of I don't think it's a jumpsuit, it might be a two-piece thing, but it's just this stupid early 80s silvery I don't know, space age looking dumb outfit, and it's just like, oh, Superman, in his stupid silver outfit. It's just like, give me a break. And this guy's, I think they think he's a vegetable, but we see him like on the table open his eyes and shut them, and looks like he's hearing what the scientists are saying and all this crap. And then there's just a random frickin' scene with with the fat guy and Chuck Norris character, or he's the fat guy's the deputy, Chuck Norris is the sheriff, and fat guy feels bad for almost shooting and killing Chuck Norris, and he's like, oh, it's okay, you probably just give yourself some time, and if you don't kill me, maybe you'll be a good cop. That's not what he says, but that's what I'm thinking as a viewer. Like, if this guy accidentally shot me, he'd be out on his fat ass. But it's so funny seeing Chuck Norris just go easy on the guy. They get harassed by these bikers at this bar, and Chuck Norris, kicks him out of town. Later on in the movie, they end up driving by this other bar, and they see this, three-wheeler trike motorcycle, and they're like, turn around. We gotta go, I kicked these guys out of town, and now they're still in town, damn it. And there's this scene where there's this really super hot chick where she's on the bar, and they're dumping beer on her, and she takes off her top, and it's just like, wow, she's got some nice ones too. And there's this other more trashy woman who, I don't know if the tattoos on her tits are real or fake for the movie or what, but we end up seeing those. So we see at least three pairs of boobies in this movie, which is always fun. And what's so funny is, they go in to confront these people, and this tall woman with the tattooed boobies, opens up her top to the fat deputy guy, and he goes to go like this, and Chuck Norris' character is like, like, you're on duty, buddy. But there's just this random, frickin' bar fight where Chuck Norris kicks all these bikers' ass in this scene, and just this movie is very kind of random and just what the hell's going on. And then as the movie progresses, Chuck Norris ends up meeting back up with this woman, and you can tell she feels like, oh, I don't think we should keep seeing each other, and Chuck Norris is like, okay, and she gets all mad that he just gives up that easy, and she storms out, and he's like, you give up that easy? And she's just mad. And so it's just, I don't know. Then we probably see more scientist stuff. At one point, this guy wearing the silver space age bullcrap Superman outfit. I say Superman in the sense, not the comic book character, but this guy in the movie, for all intents and purposes, is just superhuman guy, and he happens to be wearing a stupid silver outfit. He ends up, I think, breaking out of the hospital, killing pretty much the two doctors or whatever, and he ends up going to where Ron Silver's living with his wife, presumably wife, and his sister, I guess, is living there as well. But at this point, I kind of jumped ahead, because at this point Chuck Norris is at home and listening to some records and shirtless as always, coming out of the shower or the bath or whatever, and the woman he slept with, former girlfriend, shows up at the door. I think we should start seeing each other again. Okay, and then then we go to the sex scene, another sex scene with those two, rolling around in the hay. She's topless, and it's always fun to see her topless because she's kind of got, some decent boobies or whatever. And it's just funny because usually when there's a love scene in a movie between a main character, between anyone, but in particular a main character and a woman, there's only one in the movie. And this time there's two separate scenes where they're rolling around and she's topless and stuff. So I was like, wow, that's kind of fun. That's not, you don't really see that twice, in a movie, in the same movie. And that's kind of fun. And then, he's like, oh, this is great. I got this great cabin. Let's just go up to the cabin for a few days right now. And she's like, okay, I gotta go home and pack. She goes home and, or goes to where she's living or whatever, and finds out that packs up and stuff, and then discovers, I think, the bodies of the, presumably wife of Ron Silver, and then Ron Silver, him being, of course, her brother, and she's like, or whatever, and this guy attacks her. And one thing I don't want to forget to mention is, there's so many later on towards, I don't know if it's the last half, the last third of this movie, there's so many scenes, when they're in the office building, and she's creeping around, that are just so boring, where it happens once in the movie, and it's just well, that's kind of creative, but then they keep doing it towards the end of the movie, where she's just creeping around very slowly, just a stairwell, and it's well, there's no, she's looking all around and up, there could be any danger from above and right behind her where there's nothing but a wall, and this kind of stuff, where just it seems like padding. This movie is 100 minutes long, so it didn't need this padding. I don't understand if it was just some kind of, I don't know, some way of the filmmaker, this will really suspense people out if we just have this woman creeping around ever so slowly in such a boring manner, just moving so slowly, oh, this will be so suspenseful. Incidentally, I mean, this movie could easily have cut 10 or 15 minutes out. I think it would have been, more of a better length. those kind of scenes that happen towards the end of the movie where she's just creeping around slowly were just so boring, right? You know, at the time of the movie where it should be amping up and getting a little more adventurous and stuff, I was just like, oh, give me a break. Why is this slowing down? And you almost want to fast forward, but I didn't. So the end of the movie takes place, I think, I don't even remember if I don't even remember. Oh, well, I think Chuck Norris ends up, because he's like, well, if you don't come back, I'll come to you, you know, and of course she doesn't come back because she's being attacked by this guy in his frickin' silver shiny suit or whatever, little outfit. So Chuck Norris ends up showing up to the, you know, Ron Silver's house where she's living, the sister's living, and ends up saving the day, and they ends up taking the woman, putting it in protective custody with the fat idiot deputy who, as a child, he, in a frickin' story that he tells the Chuck Norris character that basically indicates this guy's an idiot. He tried to, like, washed a puppy and then put it in a freezer to dry it or something like that, and the thing was frozen to death or whatever. So yeah, that's exactly who I want to trust with my frickin' nubile short, you know, young girlfriend, this stupid deputy guy, and, you know, leave her with him in this, you know, whatever, this office building. And I don't even, to be honest, I don't even remember. I didn't take notes on this movie. I just wanted to watch it and not have to frickin' take notes on it. So I don't even remember where the end confrontation was. It must be at that office building, and it's probably the same building that she worked, probably the same building where her brother worked, probably the same building where the guy was being experimented on or something like that. I don't remember. Don't take my word for exactly where this movie ends, but it's just this cat and mouse stuff with, I don't even remember. Yeah, and it's just Chuck Norris. One thing that's kind of cool about this movie is towards the end, it's kind of like, you know, they keep thinking that, you know, he's killing the guy. They shoot him to death. He falls out a window. There's this cool, you know, out of the window gag, and you think, oh, he's dead, but he comes back to life. So this guy keeps coming back to life, which is kind of cool. It's like Michael Myers a little way. And instead of a jumpsuit, he's in a blue one. He's in a silver outfit or whatever. And it's just basically, it becomes towards the end of the movie, it's just like a wood tick who won't die and just like keeps trying to kill him. And it's the Kung Fu Chuck Norris stuff is kind of covered in a way that's really kind of dumb. Like, there'll just be a kick from one angle. It's just like, it almost looks like a high school directed the action in this movie. It's a high school student, I should say, I meant to say. It's just like, oh, give me a break. I mean, there's this Kung Fu stuff at the end, and he ends up, you know, kicking him down a big long well, and that's the end. And happily ever after, him and, you know, short, hot, you know, relatively decent boobed girlfriend walk off into the whatever, I don't think there's a sunset, maybe sunrise or moonlight or whatever. And of course we go down, you know, everything's all great. Camera goes down to the, you know, bottom of the well, and it's just like, the guy, kind of like the end of Terror at 10 Killer, he pops out of the water, and they just do it like, they post zoom on his face and freeze frame and roll credits, and it's like, oh my god. I was just like, you know, it kind of at the hour mark, or hour 10 minutes, I was just like, oh my god, this movie's like 40 more minutes long. So it was kind of a hard movie to get through. Like I say, cut 15 minutes out of it, it'd probably be a much better movie. You know, I'm not even sure things like that bar fight were even needed, as much as it was kind of one of the only cool scenes, I guess, where Chuck Norris kicked ass or whatever. I'm only going to be able to go, we'll go 1.5 stars out of 4 stars for, what the hell is this? Silent Rage, I think it's called. It's a lot of boring stuff. I mean, you could actually probably cut 20 minutes out of it, to be honest. There's a lot of boring stuff in the movie. But, and as a Chuck Norris movie goes, because I got into Chuck Norris probably like in 2004 or whatever, when I was starting to, for the first time, I'm ashamed to admit, for the first time, you know, first time saw Missing in Action and its sequels and Good Guys Wear Black and all this kind of stuff. I really wished I would have grown up with some of this Chuck Norris stuff, but I think in 2004 I was really starting to get into the stuff. And, you know, I got a decent amount of Chuck Norris movies from the good old days and stuff, and this is definitely one of my least favorite of the bunch. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, it's kind of a different twist on a Chuck Norris movie, you know, the whatever sci-fi, superhuman man aspect of it, but holy crap, talk about, you know, a lot of a snooze spots or whatever. Now on to my review of, so it's not a particularly recommended movie, but, you know, I guess if you end up getting this, it's kind of cool just to see maybe once. Now on to my review of Silent Rage. on this Payback Time triple feature Blu-ray by Mill Creek. Yes, just like I said in my review of Blind Fury, all three movies are on one disc. And amazingly, after I watched Blind Fury, and that was just so amazing looking and sounding, I was like, wow, I wonder if, the other two movies will look as good as this. Yes, I can confirm. I can't talk about, White Line Fever yet because I haven't seen it, but I can also confirm Silent Rage looks absolutely amazing. I would imagine the other two movies on this three movies collection are probably mono movies, so they're not going to, be as amazing as the sound, as the audio on Blind Fury, but the image quality of Silent Rage is absolutely amazing. I mean, just like Blind Fury, I mean, it doesn't look like you have any DNR in the scenes. It looks like a healthy amount of natural film grain in certain spots, darker scenes, whatever. The resolution and the resolution and what you're able to see, and it's just unbelievable that we're Mill Creek, as I said in my review of the Blind Fury movie on this Blu-ray, used to be, they made really crappy DVDs and just the bottom of the barrel as far as DVDs go. But in Blu-rays, I'm just unbelievably blown away, in particular with this particular collection so far, of how, especially when they're able to cram three movies on one disc, like the first two movies I've seen now, look so good. And I can't imagine this movie looking any better on any more premium, Arrow Video presentation, or, Scream Factory, or even just whatever, even, MGM, Blu-ray, or just any. I can't imagine this movie looking better on any Blu-ray release than this. Hats off to them. It is so sharp, so clear, just so well done, and I just can't believe, as I'm watching Blind Fury and now recently Silent Rage on this Blu-ray, that for being a Mill Creek disc in particular with three movies on it, how it can look that good. But amazingly enough, it does look that good. So that'll be my review of the movie. I can never remember the title, Silent Rage, which isn't exactly that recommended of a movie. And the highly recommended so far, 2 out of 3 movies so far. I'm sure the third one at this point will be the same. Just so highly recommended. I can't recommend this Blu-ray enough. Payback Time triple feature. This is really fun on the back here. Payback's a bitch. I mean, how cool is that for a couple, or trio rather, of frickin' slam bang, quote unquote action. The reason I say quote unquote is because this movie, the Silent Rage, isn't that actionful. But if you want to, see a kind of a different take on a Chuck Norris movie, where he's, in a lot of ways, he's doing Walker, Texas Ranger, in just boring old, frickin' boring Snoozeville town, with, getting back together with hot, short, boobacious girlfriend or whatever, and she's playing all these games like we shouldn't see each other, and he's like, okay, and she's like, oh, fine then, I won't, and then she shows up at his door. That's actually realistic women behavior, by the way. So, thank you very much for watching my review of, what the hell is this called? It's got the most forgettable title ever. As a matter of fact, when I started this review, I think I did 2 takes of the beginning of this review where I kept forgetting the title. So anyway, thank you very much for watching my review of Silent Rage and this Mill Creek Blu-ray triple feature review as well. So as always, we'll catch you on the next video. Hello, huge movie fanatic Nay, stopping on by once again, coming at you for one of my famed movie / Blu-ray reviews. Today I'm going to be coming at you to review the movie and the Blu-ray of... Yeah, I completely forgot the fucking title. Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming at you to review the Chuck Norris film. Oh my god.